everyone. Welcome to the Universal Peace Federation. My name is Ray Lapalkin, and our program today is titled Character Education. And first of all, let me mention a few things about the Universal Peace Federation. It's a global network of individuals and organizations dedicating to building a world of peace in which everyone can live in freedom, harmony, cooperation, and prosperity. And what we espouse is interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values. So if that resonates with you, please get in touch with us. Our contact information will be up on the screen. And today we're talking about character education. And the definition of character is the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. And when we see society today, we see so many different kinds of characters, and we really see so much of a breakdown in the system or our society, and a lot of that has to do is because of a lack of character education. And normally you would think this would take place in the family, as it should, but we see a lot of broken families in America, and so that's why this is happening, and it just continues or perpetuates into a larger scale. So at home, children really should be taught to have respect and obedience toward their parents, and in that relationship they could develop good character, good morals, good ethics, and that would be carried on into school when they attended school. But when there's a breakdown in the family, then those morals and ethics, that character is not really taught. Maybe it's not taught by an example or actually just through word of mouth. But in the school system, again, we could see that breakdown where the students really don't have that much respect for teachers. And that's why there's so much difficulty in the school system today, because of that relationship between student and teacher. And should the student graduate from school and go into the workforce, then again it gets carried and perpetuated into the workplace in the relationship between the employee and the employer. So if the child has not developed a good character in their home, and they're trying to teach in schools, but again, that's very difficult, then that gets carried into the workplace. And so we're seeing a lot of problems with that today. So Universal Peace Federation has provided a system of teaching and learning about character. And I'd like to present this PowerPoint to you on character education. The Character Education Initiative is a project of the Center for Leadership in Character Education with the Universal Peace Federation. This is an introduction to the Character Education Initiative. What is character education? Character education is a conscious effort to instill virtues. Character education is a deliberate effort to help people understand, care about, and act upon core ethical values. We're educating the head, the heart, and the hand. So to educate the head is more intellectual. It's basically intellectually knowing good. And educating the heart is caring about others or caring about good. And educating the hand is doing good or actually being active in performing good deeds. Why do we need character education? We see an explosion of moral problems in our society today, like the high rate of divorce, the high rate of premarital sex, alienation from traditional values, which leads to an alienation of youth from society. Youth don't know who they are or where they're going, and we see a lot of that in our society today, just a lot of confusion with their values. And obviously, we're all aware there is a rising youth society rate. There's a rising teenage pregnancy rate. And obviously, we're all aware of the youth violence and crime, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, unwholesome media and entertainment influences. So character education has always been part of education. Since Plato, educators have accepted moral instruction of the young as part of their education mission. And many universities, including Harvard, were founded to train clergy. Character education declined in the 20th century in part due to science. Logical positivism, where everything should be empirically provable. The theory of relativity applied to the moral realm. And personalism, where morals are everyone's to choose. Moral relativism, whose values to teach? So comparing virtues with values. So in other words, we're suggesting virtues, not values, where values are subjective, but virtues are universal, something that all cultures, religions, nationalities could accept and subscribe to. What people value may vary from culture to culture, but virtues should be admired everywhere, regardless of what culture or religion or nationality you're with. And values change where virtues do not change. It should be something that's always present, always it's eternal. Yet virtues may be used for good or bad purposes. Therefore, at the Universal Peace Federation, we're teaching virtues within the framework of 3 basic life goals. And these are, number 1, a mature character, 2, a loving relationship, and 3, making a positive contribution. The 3 life goals leads to a purposeful life. The first is to attain mature character. And that's the individual. In other words, as an individual, you mature yourself to become a loving, giving person. The second, you're expanding that relationship and developing it with family and your friends and society in general. And third, you're making more of a positive contribution to society. So it's an evolving, growing process. Character develops through 4 spheres of love in the family. Sometimes we call this the 4 realms of heart. A child's love for their parents, and then a sibling's love for brothers and sisters as we grow in the family. And as we become married, a spouse's love or conjugal's love for one another. And then as we have children, a parent's love for their child. So these 4 realms of heart or 4 spheres of love in the family can make us a whole person. Altruism is the virtue of virtues to live and work for the benefit of others. It encompasses all the other virtues. The family is the first school of love and relationships. There was a family or a couple called the Oliners, and they did a study of rescuers during the Holocaust, and it showed that the people who really helped the Jews escape and give sanctuary were people who came from loving families. The Character Education Initiative emphasizes virtues and ethical principles common to all cultures, that the family is the first school of love, and it talks about those 3 basic life goals that we discussed earlier. It talks about altruism. It's the organizing core virtue. And we talk about home, school, and community. So we have a series called Discovering the Real Me, and it's a character education curriculum. And it utilizes the power of the story. There are age-appropriate books covering ages 5 through 18, and it can be used in your home, in your family, in schools, religious youth groups, or any kind of a community venue. Going back to the curriculum, it comes in 2 books for each age group, the teacher's manual and the student's manual. So for instance, in the Discovering the Real Me, the first book for elementary level, we talk a lot about Aesop's fables and classical fairy tales and talk about stories of good. And books 5 through 8, which is more for the adolescent level, stories of realistic situations and moral dilemmas, where you could talk about dilemmas that you face perhaps in school, where your teenagers or adolescents might be facing with their peers, and how to overcome that peer pressure and trying to understand what the right decision would be. And the high school level, character-based sexuality education talking about relationships, communication, and leadership skills. And again, giving examples and talking about real life situations. So character education, it is an important and necessary part of our education. So for instance, you could talk about altruism. How did I show altruism this past week? Or things that you could do a food drive. So advanced technology means we must all use our powers for good, not ill purposes. From Arnold Toynbee, he said, the greater our material power, the greater our need for spiritual insight and virtue. And Teddy Roosevelt, to educate a man in mind and not morals is to educate a menace to society. So that concludes the PowerPoint presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that PowerPoint, talking about character education and finding value in our life and building relationships. And talking about values and core values, I like to read some of the core values of the Universal Peace Federation. Number 1 is God. We're one human family created by God, our heavenly parent. Number 2, spirituality. The highest qualities of the human being are spiritual and moral. Number 3 is family. The family is the school of love and peace. Number 4 is service. Living for the sake of others is the model for a peaceful society. And number 5, unity. Peace comes through cooperation beyond the boundaries of ethnicity, religion, and nationalities. And I'd like to read from one of our co-founders, Reverend Moon. It's from his biography as a peace-loving global citizen. And this is a chapter that is geared toward the youth, and it's titled, Find Your Purpose, Change Your Life. When we meet somebody new, we are always curious about who he or she is. God has the same curiosity about each human being. He is specifically curious about young people, and it brings him great joy when he gets to know them intimately. Why is this? It's because our youth is the most important and most beautiful period of our lives. This period should be a time of tranquility as one prepares for the future. The process of growing to maturity is a building block that opens the way to a new era. It is difficult to find young people today who are passionate about their lives. We find so many young people who, with no goal or purpose for their life, are just wandering around. All the great leaders in history had a definite sense of purpose in life from the time they were children. From childhood, they nurtured their purpose, held within their hearts, and exerted great energy to achieve it. Whether they were sleeping or playing with their friends, every youthful action of these great leaders were geared toward preparing for the stage that they would stand on in the future. Is that how you are living your life? We were all created to be great men and women. God did not send us into this world without purpose. When God created us, he invested himself completely in each person. So we're all created for greatness. Because God exists, we can accomplish anything. I became a completely different person when I began to love God. I loved humanity more than myself and was more concerned with the problems of others than the problems of my family. I loved everything that God created. I deeply loved the trees on the hills and the fish in the waters. My spiritual senses developed so I could discern God's handiwork in all things of creation. As I was changing my heart to conform to God's love, I also strengthened my body so that I could fulfill my mission. I wanted to be ready to go anywhere. Anytime that God called me, if I played soccer, boxing, some traditional Korean martial arts, and Won-Won-Do, a form of martial arts that I developed. In Won-Won-Do, the athlete moves his body in a smooth circular motion, almost as if in a dance. It is based on the principle that greater power comes from circular motion than moving in a straight line. Even now, I begin each day with stretching exercises for my muscles and joints and a breathing exercise that I developed. Sometimes when I'm traveling around the world on speaking tours, I may not have time for these exercises in the morning. Still, I will find the time, sometimes while sitting on the toilet. I never miss a day of exercise. When I was young, 30 minutes a day was plenty, but now that I'm older, I have increased it to an hour a day. In 2008, I was involved in a helicopter crash. The helicopter, suddenly surrounded by black rain clouds and in an instant, crashed into a mountainside. The helicopter rolled over and I was left hanging upside down by my seatbelt. Instinctively, I tightly grabbed the armrests on both sides of my seat. If I had not been so diligent in my exercises, I think I would have broken my hip. The instant that I was suspended upside down. The body is the container to hold a healthy spirit. It is important for us to be diligent about training our bodies. Few students go to school because they like to study. They usually go because their parents tell them to, not because they look forward to studying. As students continue to study, however, they gradually learn to enjoy it. From that point, they will start to study on their own and find their own path. The self-developed interest in learning is a sign of maturity. Parents cannot wait until their children mature enough to study on their own. They will tell them, "You have to study. Please make up your mind to study," and put pressure on them. Parents do this because they know that children need to study in order to prepare for the future. They worry that if the children don't study at the proper age level, they will face the future unprepared. There is, however, something more important than studying to prepare for the future. Before unconditionally focusing entirely on studies, young people must realize what they want to do in life. They must make a determination to use their talents to help the world rather than just serve themselves. Many young people today seem to be studying just for their own sake. Unless you have a purpose in life, your studies will lack the passion needed for happiness. Once I came across a student working hard on his English schoolwork. I asked him, "Why are you working so hard to learn English?" He answered, "To get into a university." What could be more foolish? Getting into a university is not a purpose. A university is a place to go to study particular subjects in the course of putting a larger objective. It cannot be the objective itself. Also, do not define your life goal in terms of how much money you want to make. I've never received a salary, but I managed to sit and stay alive. Money is a means to do something, not the goal. Before you make money, have a plan for spending it. Money gained without a prior objective will soon be wasted. Your choice of occupation should not be based on just your talents and interests. Whether you become a firefighter, a farmer, or a soccer player is up to you. But what I'm referring to transcends your occupation. What kind of life will you lead as a soccer player? Will you be a farmer? What is your objective in life? To set your objective is to give meaning to the life you will lead. If you're going to be a farmer, then you should set your objective to test new agricultural methods, develop better species of crops, and help eradicate world hunger. If you are willing to be a soccer player, then set a meaningful objective, such as to heighten your country's image in the world, or to establish soccer camps that will mature the dreams of economically deprived children. To become a world-class soccer player takes incredible work. If you do not have a definite purpose in your heart, you will not be able to endure the difficult training required to reach the top. Only if you have an objective will you have the power to maintain your course and live a life that is a cut above those around you. So I felt that it's kind of a story relating to young people. So I hope you can use some of those ideas and concepts, educate yourself, your character, not just externally, and then you'll have a great life, a great family, and we'll have a great society and world. And I'd like to read as a conclusion from the Universal Peace Federation, just a statement. There are many critical challenges facing our world at this time, from poverty and climate change to conflict and inequality. At the same time, the rise of civil society initiatives and the expansion of Track 2 diplomatic efforts involving people-to-people relations provides new dynamics that complement and support the work of government in the search for solutions to our world's most pressing problems. The Universal Peace Federation has developed a strong track record of accomplishment. Our commitment to service, partnership, and cooperation are hallmarks of our work. Through forums, seminars, conferences, service programs, and interfaith peace initiatives, UPF is building a global network of peace builders to contribute to a world of sustainable peace in which everyone can live in freedom, harmony, cooperation, and prosperity. We invite you to join our effort, share your ideas, and contribute to this global effort to build a world of sustainable and lasting peace. So if this resonates with you, please get in touch with us. And if you're interested in that character education series, you can order those books through our website, us.upf.org. And if you just go to resources, and you can get some information there. So please get in touch with us if you have any questions, and thank you for joining us today.